Okay, so today we're going to do Unit 2 Day 10 notes, which is graphing by using the slope and the y-intercept, and then we're going to learn how to write equations from a graph, okay? So now, let's start out by doing the old-fashioned graphing just so we will remember. Remember that I taught you a few weeks ago that to be able to graph this linear equation, you gotta choose any x's that you want, and I'm going to choose -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. You could have chosen -2. That's okay, but I just decided to do these numbers. So remember that we have our equation, and anytime we see an x, we put parentheses. Okay. And remember that the idea behind this is that in goes the x, out comes the y. So in goes the x, which is -1 for this one. Okay. And out comes the y. So -2 times -1 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Now, for the next one, n goes 0. Okay, that's our input. Out comes your y. So -2 times 0 is 0, minus 2 is -2. Next comes the 1. So n goes the 1 into the machine. So -2 times 1 is -2, minus 2 is -4. Then the next one, n goes the 2. So -2 times 2 is 4, -4, minus 2 is -6. And then the last number that goes in is 3. So -2 times 3 is -6, minus 2 is -8. So there's my numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and graph them. So -1, 0, 0, -2, 1, -4, 2, -6, 3, -8. Okay, so there's my line. And of course, you could use your ruler to connect the dots because this is a linear function. And there's the graph of that equation. Now, this was the old way of graphing it, and of course it's a little bit lengthier, and most likely you will make a mistake because there's a lot of plugging in and multiplication and adding and subtracting you have to do. So there's actually a quicker way to be able to graph a linear function, and now that we know what a slope is and what a y-intercept is, we can use them to graph our linear function. So I gave you a few steps. So basically, if you're using the y-intercept and the slope to graph, all you have to do is take your y-intercept, put it on your y-axis, and then from the y-intercept, use your slope to be able to plot the other points. And once you have enough points, go ahead and connect them to draw your line. Now, of course, if these steps don't make sense at the moment, just give it a second and you'll see how easy it is. So let's start with example 1. Now, first thing I need to know is what is my slope and what is my y-intercept? Well, obviously, if you know this equation, y equals mx plus b, you know that the y-intercept, which is the easiest, is the number without the x. So that means my answer will be -2. So the y-intercept is -2. Now, if I'm looking for the slope, I know the slope is the number in front of the x. Okay? So that means my answer is also -2. So now that I have the slope and the y-intercept, I can start. So step 1, so I can be able to graph, is plot -2 for the y-intercept. Well, we know the y-intercept is the y-axis, so just look at where -2 is on the y-axis, which is right there. Now you're going to take your slope and you're going to apply it to it. Well, remember that the slope is just the rise over the run. So that means it has to be a fraction. So how can I convert -2 into a fraction? Well, that's easy. Any whole number, just add a 1 under it. So this becomes -2 over 1, which is just the slope. And why do we need it to be a fraction? Because remember, we're doing the rise over the run, so we need a fraction. So we need to rise -2 and then run 1 time. So let's do that. Let's rise 1, 2, and then run 1. And remember, it's negative, so we want to make sure that our line is going down, okay? It's a negative slope, so we want to make sure it's going down. And you keep doing that. Rise 2, run 1. Rise 2, run 1. And that's my next point. Rise 2, run 1. Okay? So now you can also do it the other way. Start from the other way and go rise, which means go down, down 2 over 1. Down 2 over 1. Down 2 over 1. So anyways, as you can tell, our line is decreasing, and there's the graph of that line. So now, example 2. Well, once again, we need a slope in a fraction form, and we need the y-intercept. Now, looking at this, you should know that the y-intercept is the number without the x, so that will be the plus 2. Now, of course, you should know that the slope is the number in front of the x, which in this case is 1/3. Okay? And this time we don't have to change that slope into a fraction because it's already a fraction. So let's go ahead and start. Plot your 2 on the y-axis because that's the y-intercept. And let's go ahead and apply the slope. So the slope is 1/3. So rise 1, run 3. Remember, rise over run. So you're rising 1, running 3. Rise 1, run 3. 1, 2, 3. Dot. Rise 1, run 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Dot. Rise 1, run 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now you can do it the other way as well. Instead of rising, because we can't, okay, we got to go down 1 over 1, 2, 3. Down 1 over 1, 2, 3. And you can stop or you can go one more time. Down 1, 1, 2, 3. And there's your line of that equation. It's a lot quicker. You don't have to do a lot of multiplying and adding and subtracting. But just make sure you connect your dots. And there you go. Yep. Let's go ahead and flip to the back. Now, for example 3, this time they're giving me an order pair. It's a random order pair. Even though we don't have the y-intercept, it doesn't matter, okay? They do give me the point -2, 3, and they give me the slope of 3. So remember, if the slope is 3, we need to change this into a fraction. So to be able to change our number into a fraction, just put a 1 under it. So now, the easiest way to do this is plot this point, -2, 3, will be right there, and using that point and my slope, I'm going to draw my line. So I know it's positive, so that means I'm going to rise 3 and run 1. So rise 3, 1, 2, 3, run 1. Rise 3, run 1. Now let's do in the other directions. Down 1, down 3, 1, 2, 3, run 1. Down 3, run 1. Down 3, run 1. So anyways, there's your linear function for this problem. Now you try number 4 for yourself, and if you have any questions, let me know. Now write an equation. Well, writing the equation is as easy as graphing it. If you ever get a graph and they ask you what equation represents this graph, well, you know you're going to be using y equals mx plus b if it's a straight line. And you know that the m stands for the slope and the b stands for the y-intercept. We can easily find that. So let's start. What's the y-intercept of this graph? Well, you should know that the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So where it crosses the y-axis is 3, okay, which is the letter B. Now, we got to find the slope. Remember that the slope is the rise over the run. Now, if you notice, this line is decreasing. So that means it's a negative slope. So I'm going to go ahead and put my negative down. Now, just choose 2 points to do your rise over your run. And I'm going to choose this one and this one. So rise is 1, 2, 3. And your run is 1, 2. Up 3, over 2. So my slope is -3 over 2. So all you do is just plug it in. So your slope was -3 over 2, x plus the b, which is 3. So the equation to this problem is negative 3 over 2x plus 3. Okay? Now, for example 2, first thing I need to figure out, like I said, is the y-intercept. If you look at this, the y-intercept of this line is right here. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 4. Now for the slope, I would just use these 2 points they indicate, and it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the rise is 7, and the run is 2. And of course it's positive because it's going up. So now your slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So your equation is going to be y equals 7/2 x minus 4 because your y-intercept is negative. So there's your equation for that. Okay, if you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to ask me in class tomorrow.